City, her editors at the Daily News asked her to appear in daily segments on WNBC's Live at 5 newscast, and she remained with the program for 11 years, earning an Emmy in 1985, and this exposure on television enhanced her status, as you can imagine. She became a very popular staple of the Manhattan social scene, which served to provide more material for her columns. And by this point, in syndication in more than 70 newspapers nationwide. At one point, Smith was hired by Fox to develop a talk show that Roger Ailes would produce. And she moved from the Daily News to Newsday in 1991, remaining for 4 years there, then signed with Rupert Murdoch-owned New York Post. Once part of News Corp, she naturally made appearances on Fox News Channel, and Smith remained with the Post until she was let go in 2009, and then she continued to write her columns, the syndication of which she also continued, and the column appeared for a while in Daily Variety after the death of the paper's own legendary gossip columnist, Amy Archer, in 2009. Smith told the New York Times in 2014 that her love of movies began when she was 6 or 7, and that she never wanted to do anything else. Asked about why we retain our fascination with celebrities, Smith replied, "Remember Camelot, the song, I wonder what the king is doing tonight? We make stars into something exquisite, and we want to know what they're doing and thinking because our lives are desperately boring." Smith was full of stories about the likes of Jackie Kennedy, Carol Burnett, Bette Midler, and her sometime friend Barbara Walters, but she professed to the Times in 2014 not to pay any attention to Gawker TMZ or any of the other celebrity gossip-oriented websites that have proliferated over the last decade. She never know whether the stories are true, she declared. Once again, Liz Smith, premier gossip columnist, died at 94 years old. And she was a Southern Baptist, and understand she remained true to her faith and her God and her community, but definitely will be missed. This is a very interesting report, and I always am so uneasy when I read reports like this, and it comes from the New York Times. Of course, it's left-leaning. However, sometimes, just like a clock that doesn't work, tells time at least, what do they say, once a day? Well, this is true, probably, again, a miracle, but a story about the NSA revealing U.S. National Security Agency shaken by more leaks, more hacks, and security breaches, and has been forced to start over in building up its spy and intelligence efforts worldwide. The New York Times chronicled an in-depth report this past Sunday. You may want to read it. These leaks have been increasing and incredibly damaging to our intelligence and cyber capabilities. Former CIA Director Leon Panetta was telling the Times that the fundamental purpose of intelligence is to be able to effectively penetrate our adversaries in order to gather vital intelligence. And by its very nature, that only works if security is maintained and our codes are protected. Every time it happens, you essentially have to start over again. The serial leak of the NSA's cyber weapons has damaged morale. It has lowered intelligence and resulted in hacking attacks on businesses and civilians worldwide, the Times reported. We obviously dealing with people who have operational security knowledge. James Williams, or Jake Williams, founder of Rendention InfoSec, told the Times they have the whole law enforcement system and intelligence system after them, and they haven't been caught. A security leak of the NSA's hacking tool methods and sources by the mysterious group known as shadow brokers outed the NSA's Tailored Access Operations, TAO, and has led to experts leaving the NSA for higher-paying jobs in the private sector. It's a disaster on multiple levels. Williams, a former TAO employee, told the Times it's embarrassing that the people responsible for this have not been brought to justice. Industry experts say the TAO leaks are worse than the secrets revealed by Edward Snowden because the sources have yet to be found, leading to a lot of NSA finger-pointing and suspicion. Snowden killed morale, but at least we knew who he was, TAO insider told the Times. Now you have a situation where the agency is questioning people who have been 100% mission-oriented, telling them they're liars. Perhaps most discouraging, the Times reported, there is no end in sight. How much longer are the releases going to come? An ex-TAO employee told the Times the agency doesn't know how to stop it or even what it is. A very damning report, folks, on our very own NSA. Yeah, there's fighting amongst those, in the Republican Party, but there is definitely continued dysfunction in Washington. And it's a shame because this is at the highest level. The NSA, folks, it's kind of a big deal, not small potatoes. This is a very damning story, and hopefully, with the exposure of this happening here, there might be some investigation into the NSA and to these breaches and leaks. And it's nothing new in Washington for the leaks because there's leaks in the White House. And this is just something that has plagued, unfortunately, Washington. And I tell you, for anybody that does this, they're a traitor. Traitors that turn on the country and do these things really just do not make our country any safer. And after all, isn't that what the NSA is all about? But we've seen this dysfunction before, even during 9/11, unfortunately, where agencies did not share proper information with other agencies, and we know what a debacle that is. So, unfortunately, this is a reality, folks, in our country. But you wonder why people don't have much faith in them anyways to begin with. And then when you get leaks after leaks, they're going to have to figure out something to protect our intelligence. And as one expert said, our codes. And now the report is they're starting all over again. And this is not the first time. They've been doing this again and again. And again, I guess the idea is if you can't get it right, do it again. So hopefully eventually they will get it right. But they need to get it right because this is our country. This is kind of a big deal, folks. If our secrets are not safe, if our intelligence is not safe, then we're vulnerable to all sorts of attacks. And you're worried about the Russians. How about the Iranians? Yeah, how about the Iranians? How about, remember? How about North Korea? They might be a little concerned. Kevin Brady says that the House won't agree to nix property tax deductions. The chairman of the House Tax Writing Committee is expressing confidence that the chamber won't go along with the Senate's proposal to eliminate the deduction for property tax, setting up a major flashpoint as Republicans are aiming to put a tax cut bill on President Donald Trump's desk before Christmas. GOP folks working urgently on the first rewrite of the U.S. tax code in 3 decades. Key officials promise that they're going to complete the effort, but among the biggest differences in the 2 bills that have emerged, the House bill allows homeowners to deduct, $10,000 in property tax, while the Senate proposed, unveiled by GOP leaders last week, estimates the entire deduction. The deduction is particularly important to residents in states with high property values and tax rates such as New Jersey, Illinois, California, and New York. And we mentioned a little bit of this in the beginning of the segment. But a lot of people are looking for this. Munchin also rebuffeted projections. Proposed tax cuts would increase the national debt. He said that creating sustained economic growth for 3% or higher would generate trillions of dollars in additional revenue to the government. He did not specify over what time frame that would occur. This is about growth, Munchin said. Hopefully they have some kind of write-in provision that it would, in fact, pay down the national debt. That would be terrific because it is spiraling out of control. All these great new initiatives and all this great building, it all costs money. And yes, somebody's going to have to pay for it. And hopefully not our kids, but it looks like, what did one economist say? Kids, 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 and so on. And that's not good. If we're to be the most prosperous country, we could be the most indebted nation, and that's just bad business. That's not good. How are you supposed to boast prosperity even though we have a great economy, one of the world's best economies? It's just embarrassing. Anyways, hopefully we have some talks and discussions on that, but maybe that's next year. But we have to get some victories here, and hopefully the tax deduction will be enough relief for a lot of Americans that need the help the most. A Colorado girl that has been suffering from seizures has joined a lawsuit. Did you hear about this one? The lawsuit seeks to sue the U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions. She's suing Jeff Sessions, folks. It's her big bid, and of course she's being set up to do this by her parents, of course, to legalize medical marijuana nationwide. Her name is Alexa Mortel. She's 12 years old. She was telling Fox 31 Denver that she was diagnosed with epilepsy, and traditional medicine wasn't helping her seizures. Her doctors in Texas recommended an invasive brain surgery, but a pediatrician suggested medical marijuana. And as the seizures got worse, we had to move to Colorado, according to her parents, to get cannabis because it's legal there and it's illegal in Texas. Ortel told the news site, "I'd say medical marijuana is a lot better than brain surgery." Mortel found that taking a drop of Halah's Hope, a strain of cannabis oil, twice a day prevented the seizure from coming back. She's been seizure-free for nearly 3 years, but she can't return to Texas because marijuana is illegal there. Colorado is one of the several states that legalize marijuana for medical use and recreational use. I would like to be able to visit my grandparents without risking being taken to a foster home, she said. Mortel decided to join a lawsuit to legalize medical marijuana in all states. Case was first started by another child, a military veteran, a marijuana advocacy group, and Marvin Washington, a former Broncos player. 29 states and the District of Columbia have legalized medical marijuana. Sessions has been openly opposed about legalizing marijuana. He said in September, "I've never felt that we should legalize marijuana," according to Reuters. "It doesn't strike me that the country would be better if it's being sold at every street corner," Sessions said during a news conference in San Diego. Mortel said that she hopes the lawsuit will normalize the substance for medical reasons, she said. We've talked about this issue with medical marijuana, recreational use, and I am definitely not in favor for legalizing recreational marijuana. Now, medical marijuana, that's a different story, but controlled. The problem with that is you have growers, and that's what that illegally grow this stuff and sell this stuff. And they bypass the legal channels. And it is illegal operation. Now, there's those that are approved by the state. The state makes a fair amount of money. And it's medical marijuana, and that's a good thing, I guess, for the business and for the state and for the patient. Again, I don't have any complaints if it helps somebody that has something wrong with their brain. They have cancer. They're in chronic pain, and they're taking